So today we're going to have a look at the Hyundai i10. I'm in Mauritius today, so we don't get these in Australia, but I'm going to show you around the Hyundai i10. So let's first of all have a look at it. So from the outside, it's pretty plain car there. It's got the actual hubcaps on there. You don't really get that too much these days. There, and then it's got the 14-inch wheels, so tiny wheels on it, but these are the very basic of the basic Hyundais here. We'll just take you around the front here and have a look at it there. So this one actually does have fog lights on it there, and then as you can see, fairly plain, very sort of plasticky looking there. Back around here, you've got the side black, so the side skirts on the black there sort of, I think, make it look a bit cheap, but if you've got a black one, it might blend in a bit better. The car's like quite small, so this is the i10 Grand. So there's an i10 and i10 Grand. The i10 Grand's got a bit of a bigger engine in it than the actual i10. I think this has got a 1.2 litre engine in it. And we'll just take you back around there. So what you can do is just take you around and to have a look at the boot now, to see the boot size. Now, the boot size itself is actually not too bad in here. Like, for a small car, you've got a bit of room. Like, I was able to fit 2 big suitcases in here and 2 small suitcases. That's 4 suitcases, so that's not too bad there. So one of the limitations with this is you can't actually take the back seats down here. So there's nothing there to actually take the back seats down there. It's got the middle compartment here with the cup holders, but you can't actually take those seats down at all. So you can't increase the luggage there. So we're just gonna hop in the back here and just have a look at the room. So it's actually not too bad. Like, you could comfortably sit in here. As I said, you wouldn't want to do a long trip in here, but you can pretty much comfortably sit in here as an adult, and no less room than I'd have in sort of the mid-size SUVs or one of the bigger hatchbacks. So yeah, not too bad. And then just having a look, as I said, it's quite basic in here. You know, the interior isn't anything to sort of write home about, really. So as you can see, looking quite basic as we just hop in here. Just going to turn the ignition on so we can see sort of like the radio system there, which actually has iPad connectivity, so you can connect an iPad to it. It's got a CD player there, but pretty simple, no apps or anything like that to play around with. This one's got air conditioner, which is quite handy here in Mauritius. And then you've got, this one's at 5-speed, it's got a manual gearbox on it. And then you've got the simple sort of cup holders and wallet holders and things like that there. See the seats, they're really simple, pretty basic. They don't really, they're sort of they're comfortable, but they don't really sort of tuck you in at all there. And then just looking back around the car there, not much really to talk about in here. So back here to the dials here, so just the basic dials you've got here, and then the basic trip computer there. So what I'll do now is we'll take the car for a bit of a drive, and then I'll talk a bit more about the car. So inside driving the Hyundai now. So firstly, I want to sort of talk about the build quality of the car. Yeah, I know it's a cheap car, so what am I expecting? But this car's only a few years old, and I think there are a few little issues with it already. And it's only done now 56,000 kilometers, so I wouldn't say it's done a heap of kilometers. So first thing is, it's got this little rattle in the steering column here. When I don't know if you can pick it up on the actual, you can probably hear it knocking a bit now, but whenever you turn the wheel tight, you hear a big knocking noise. Now I don't know if that's because someone's gone over a pothole or something like that and just damaged it, but it's a bit concerning. Looking outside the car, you would have maybe noticed there's bits peeling off the car already, like a plastic near the side of the windows there. There's also some rust spots on the car that I wouldn't think would be present in a car that's only a couple of years old. So yeah, I know it's a cheap car, but I'd be expecting it to last more than sort of a couple of years before it starts falling apart. Generally driving the car does feel quite smooth, so I would say it's a reason you can go over a pothole and it doesn't judge you up and things like that. So it's definitely not a bad ride. The engine itself, it's obviously a 1.2 litre. It's not very powerful, but look, you can deal with it from day to day. Look, you know, I was done a bit of driving in this on the highway and things like that, and you know, it doesn't obviously get up to 110 too quickly, which is a speed limit here, but what it does do is it does get up there, and you know, it sits on about 3,500 revs when you're when you get going on there, but you wouldn't want to go too much sort of faster than 120 in it, as it does feel quite quick. It doesn't feel as smooth as obviously some of the other cars do at 110, where it really doesn't feel like you're doing, you know, it feels like you're doing 60 or 70 kilometers an hour. Some of the other things that are really basic in this car, the wipers, so that there's no sort of mode to slow the wipers down or make them quicker than intermittent mode. If there's just one, there's only 3 speeds, so there's push it down, you get 1 speed, which is quite quick. So really, you're gonna if it's not raining too much, but you need to clean the wipers, you're pretty much doing it manually, turning the thing on and off. So yeah, that's annoying. If you want to clean your windscreen wipers, you have to do that manually as well. So you have to go in there and actually turn the wipers on and clean the wipers after doing the spray there. The headlights aren't the greatest on this car. I've had to do a bit of night driving in it, so the standard lights aren't that good, but the high beams, they're pretty good, so nothing to complain about. Handling, for a small car like this, I would expect a bit better. So yeah, it handles okay, and it's not supposed to be a sports car, but it is a small light car, and you still get a lot of leaning into the turns and things like that I wouldn't expect. But again, yeah, they're trying to save money. It's a cheap car, so they just put the most basic of basic suspension in here. I took you around before and sort of talked about most of the things in the car. I'll just sort of touch on some other things. So it does have a USB plug in here. My Audi SQ5 doesn't even have an USB plug in there, so that's got that's something there. That does have that USB plug in there. It's got the basic controls here on the steering wheel, so you've got your volume here, you've got your mute button here, you've got your little modes that you can switch through on the trip computer here, and then you've got the different radio stations or the next track to change there, and then you've got some trip and resetting the trip computer here as well. It does have all electric windows, and you might laugh when I say that, but I have driven some of these really basic cars before where only the front come electric and then the rears are the manual wind downs, but this is all fully electric here. You've got the electric mirrors here, and the lock button here, and then the child lock button there as well. So even though it doesn't have a huge amount of features, you've still got some necessities that you actually want in a car. No technology in it, so no rear sensors, obviously, then no front sensors, obviously none of the side assists or anything like that. So very basic. This is, as I said before, this is a manual 5-speed manual, so but I can't tell you, there's no traction buttons here, so maybe it does have some sort of traction control on it there, but yeah, it's all the very basics of the basics with this car. Yeah, so the radio on the speakers in the car, they're pretty average as well. A lot of treble, not much bass, but you know, basic car, basic speakers. Fuel efficiency, I think it's really fuel efficient. So haven't kept an eye on exactly how far I've been driving in this, but I would say it's showing now. I'm sitting on about 60 in 4th gear. It's showing 2.2 litres per 100 kilometres, and I haven't really seen it go too much beyond the 7 and 6, and every time I seem to look at it, it's around the 4 anyway. And I know I put about $40 worth of petrol in it, and been driving at least, let's say, a few 100 kilometres. So yeah, it is quite fuel efficient, which is good. So all in all, look, would I buy this car? It's not the type of car that I would buy in the first place. So if you're considering buying it, it gets you from A to B comfortably, and if that's all you really need and you're happy to do it in a very basic way, then this could be the car for you. My real concern is, as I said before, the build quality. Yeah, it's a cheap car, but you know, you want it to last, obviously, if you're buying a cheap car, 5 or 10 years, and at least 5 years before it starts to fall apart. And this is, as I said, about 2 or 3 years old, and it's also already showing, and it's only got 56,000 kilometers on it, and it's already showing signs of falling apart, which is a bit of a concern if I was to buy the car. But yeah, all in all, you know, it does the job, it does what you need to be, and as I said, there's a price point for this car, and there's a reason for this car, and is that for people that don't want to spend too much on the car, but still want to get the A and B and need a new car, and I guess this fits into that price point. Alright, well, yeah, well, thanks for watching today.